Hello. Today's topic is how to choose um, a winning horse every time, and this is the chapter 1. This subject is a very wide subject. It has different dimensions, different avenues, and they cannot be put into one video. It'll be a very long video if I try to do that, and uh, it won't be a justice to my work. So I'll try to put it in 5 different videos. Today is the first one, and I hope you like it. During this video, I'm going to cover quite a few things which may not be directly connected with horse racing, but it will help you to understand as a beginner or a layman how horse racing works and how to choose a winning horse every time. So let's start. Now, um, to start with, before we jump into how to choose a winning horse or how to choose a horse for races, it is important that we first understand what is a horse race. Is it a sport? Is it an entertainment? Is it what is it? Now, if we look up on the internet, you'll see that uh, it has been there for a very, very long time, horse racing. Uh, the oldest horse racing courses in United Kingdom, Chester, and with history it goes back to the Roman era, the Roman time. Uh, it, if the oldest horse race course, which is still operational, is about 500 years old, we can easily assume that this horse racing is anyway uh, older than that. Could be 1,000-year-old thing or more than that. Now, horse racing basically, to understand horse racing, uh, we need to understand the the basic concept of what we see, what we gather from horse racing, and uh, what is the actual picture of it. Now, if we talk about horse racing, uh, it's easy to relate it with a sport, but it is not. A sport is something which is uh, uh, within equals. Like, when we were in schools, we had a sports day. So every student from a particular class or grade, they would participate and they would run or they would do some kind of something. And if they win, they win. So it is within equals. The age is same, the grade is same, the mental Maturity is same, a lot of things in common. Other than they all human beings, there are a lot of things that'll be of the same size or the same uh, nature. That's a sport. But when it is a contest, it is between two individuals or more than two individuals. And in a contest, it is a little more complicated. A contest is basically with an agenda to win. It's very similar to, um, you know, if we talk about, in every country, like in the United States, 4th of July. In India, where I live, it's either 26th of January or 15th of August is the Independence Day. Uh, when we get to see a lot of muscles, the army commanders will come out with their armies. We'll get to see a lot of fighter jets flying all over the sky. They will showcase the power. They will show the countrymen that your country is very strong. We have tanks, we have fighter planes, we have navy. That's a sport. That's showcasing. But when it is a contest is like a war. The concept of a war is basically, one country taking over the other country, winning the other country. So that's contest. Now, when it is a contest, it is not a sport. And in a contest, every country who are participating in that contest of war, they will have surprise elements. They will have their weaknesses hidden and their strengths used in such a way where it will maximize the results. If you haven't seen a movie, it was some time back called 300. 300 is a movie where, a very small army of 300 men fight against the Egyptian army, which is a giant army, and they give them a very, very tough time. How? That's for you to watch the movie, and it's a fantastic watch. So in a war, if there's a bigger country and there's a smaller country, the bigger country might think it's easy for anybody to think the bigger country is going to win. Like if you look back in the history when you know Vietnam happened, who knew that you know what will happen in Vietnam? It's a smaller country, mostly uh, you know uneducated people at that point of time, wherein the other country which was participating in that war had all the machineries, power, everything, but it was not a walk in the park. And why it happened is because, this, when it is a war, using of the strength is most important. How you identify your strengths and use them to win is what is going to make you win or help you win. I'm sorry. So, a race, horse race, is something on the similar lines. This is not a sport. If it was a sport, it would be something like our school days, you know, same sizes, same grades, uh, same mental maturity. Everything is going to be the same. But horse race is different. Different horses from different countries, different ages, different weights, different jockeys. Now, how to choose a winning horse? So when we talk about a horse race, firstly, uh, we need to understand that uh, during a horse race, uh, there are going to be different types and breeds and horses from different countries which are going to be participating in that contest. And one of them is going to be a winner. Now, who is going to be the winner is a little complicated from the racing point of view. Now, firstly, race is an organized event. Somebody is organizing that. Either it is a club or some kind of a consortium or someone is organizing. And it is organized to make profits. Race doesn't happen for you and I to make money. Races happen as an event because somebody else, the organizers, are going to make money. Whether it's a club or it is the consortium or the associations or whatever. Now, in India, we are one of the largest democracies in the world. In India, the Supreme Court of India says that horse racing is not a gambling. Why? Because it requires skill. Now, if this is what, I mean, that's not exactly uh, the start and the end of what Supreme Court says. There are other clauses as well, but that's more or less uh, the idea that it requires skill to play horse racing or to bet on horse racing. It requires skill or skills. Therefore, it is not gambling. That's why horse racing is legal in a lot of places in India, and people can participate in betting in horse racing. Now, having said all that, uh, what kind of skills are we talking about, and who are these people who have these skills? Now, this is for um, this works everywhere in the world. It is not only in India; it is anywhere. Now, as an organizer of a horse race, if I was the organizer of the horse race, if you were the organizer of the horse race, your intent would be to make profits. And how do you make profits? You get people to come and bet on the horses that you have gathered from all over the world, and then you losing the money that you have bet on those horses. So uh, that's the basic strategy of organizing a horse race. Now, as a participant, as someone who wants to bet, the first thing that we need to do is to understand who are we fighting with, or uh, who are we in contest with. We are in contest with the organizers. They don't want you to win, and you have to find a way to win. That's the bottom line. So it's a war. They will have a lot of decoys, a lot of um, you know potholes, a lot of uh, whitewash, eyewash everywhere, a lot of distractions everywhere for you to move your attention from what you should be doing to what they are showing. And in the bargain, they making the money and you losing your bet. If you've been to horse races, you'll notice that they have a lot of things going on, a lot of drinks, a lot of parties, a lot of good-looking females, a lot of food, um, a lot of stuff going on at the same time. At the same time, they're also doing the races. So these are all distractions. These are all distractions. Talking about distractions, the first distraction is the race card. Let's talk about the race card and get started. So I have a race card here. This is a general race card that we find here in India. I just happen to have a copy of it, which is on a PDF format, and it's a perfect thing to work with. So this is the first distraction. Now, why I'm calling it a distraction, a lot of people might say that it has all the information. It has everything. Yes, it does have the information, but it also has a lot of distractions. Like, you know, if you go to a race course, the races are happening. Yes, the races are happening, but there are also a lot of distractions which are happening. So these distractions are happening in every stage. And for you, someone who's you know, putting his or her money, you should know how to avoid distractions. That's the first thing. Now, why I'm calling it a distraction, let's understand that first. So, this is a race card. Now, this race card has the names of the horses and some details, the weight that they're carrying, uh, the jockey who's going to be riding the horse, the name of the horse, you know, what they have done in the past, like how many races did the horse win, what is the name of this horse race, and so on. And they also have the information about, you know, the pools, like the jackpot and the treble, and so on. They also have some information about the health of the horses, wherein they mention that the horse might have had a respiratory tract infection or something like that. Swimming report, so on and so forth. And they go on, they do it for every races. So for a day, if they have 7 races or 8 races or 10 races, they will include all the horses and they'll give you some information about the horses, and that's more or less about the race card. Now, this is a distraction because the race card has a lot of unnecessary information which they want you to look at and get distracted, get deviated. So the first thing that we need to understand here is uh, this particular section where it says how many races, you know, it is not working with the mouse here, but I'm sure you can understand this particular section where it says that it has um, it was in a race with another horse called Sonata, and it came first or second, and on which date that happened, how many lengths, uh, what was the length of the win? Like, did it win by um, a quarter mile or whatever? So that's the information which is here. This is a total unnecessary information. This will never help you to win a bet. I'll come to that. Why? This information, it is unnecessary. This is for you to look at and get convinced that this horse is of certain potential. I mean, let's understand this. If, let's say, if they have they if they have mentioned that this horse in last 3 races, in past 3 races, this horse has been the winner, blindfolded. This particular horse has been a winner in the past 3 races. That does not guarantee that this horse is going to be a winner in this race where you're going to be putting the money. This is an eyewash. They write the name of the jockey, the name of the jockey who's going to be riding. It is a relevant information to a certain extent, but they also write the name of the trainer. They also write the uh, what kind of a horseshoe, whether it is aluminum or it is steel, What kind of um, a horseshoe is the horse wearing for that day, and what are the other? Who are the other horses? Which are the other horses? Yeah, it's something very similar to a menu card of a restaurant. You know, when you walk into a restaurant and you look at a menu card, that's very similar to this one. You know, this is a burger, this is a sandwich, this is probably a pinata, this is something else. So, and the rest of the information is like who's cooked, who's going to cook it for you, you know, where did the bread come from, and all that information. So it's more or less like a menu card. Now, this race card is the first thing that you're going to be getting while you go to a race. And this is the first distraction you're going to be stepping in when you do that. And they want you to do that. So, this is not from where you should be looking at winning horses. If you're looking at winning horses from the race card, you're too late. This is the last stage. This is the last stage. You cannot do this. You cannot choose your horses from the race card. So, where do you choose your horses from? You need to choose your horses from the declaration. What is declaration? Declaration is the stage that, uh, or the announcement that the organizers will have to do before they actually print the race card. Now, that information is always online. So, why I'm saying not to go with it's more or less the same thing. If you look at the declaration and if you look at the race card, they have the same information. But why I'm saying that you should not be looking at the race card, rather you should be looking at the declaration because of the timing. Race card is something that you get when you are in the race course, when you do not have the opportunity to do any research, when you do not have the opportunity to understand what is going on, where you do not have the opportunity to do anything. You're holding a book and you don't know what to do with that book. It has information, it is throwing information at you. The information that the people who are organizing the race want you to read and get confused, get distracted, get, uh, you know, lose your money at the end of the day. Wherein a declaration is basically a document on which is prepared, and the race card is printed on the basis of the declaration. So whenever there is a horse race, whoever is organizing the horse race, according to the guidelines, they will have to issue a declaration, whether it is in the United States or in the Australia or in the United Kingdom, France, Germany, India, Hong Kong, wherever in the world there is a declaration. So you need to go to the website of that club or the organizers, whoever is organizing that race, and go to the section where it says races, and there you will see there are uh, three primary documents. One is uh, uh, I forgot the name. The second one is acceptance. The third one is declaration. Now, the difference between acceptance and declaration is basically, you know, the decisions that they make uh, on which horse is going to run with which jockey. First, they choose the horses, so that's the acceptances. And once they have chosen the horses, then they choose the jockeys. So once they have chosen the jockey, that's what is known as declaration. That document that includes the horses along with the jockey is called declaration. And that is what is printed as a race book or a race card. So it's basically the same thing, but what is different is the time. If you are buying a race card or a race book in a race course, that means you did not spend the time to do the right research that you should have done before you decided to put in your money in that race. Wherein the declaration is the document that you need to do your homework, do your research as a first step to choose a winning horse, not the race card. So today we are going to talk about the first aspect of how to choose a winning horse, and that is strength and fitness. Now, obviously, when it is a race, when it is a contest, you want to put your money on a horse that is strong and fit. But how do you know which one is strong or stronger than the rest of the horses that are running in that race and the fittest one? To to do that, it's important to understand how strength and fitness works in sports or contests, fights. I'm going to be referring to another movie again, and I'm sure this is something that you all must have loved to watch. It's a movie by Sylvester Stallone called Rocky, one of the greatest movie of all time, I guess. So, I mean, all the parts, apart from a few that came out much later, the first few were just amazing. So, when we talk about Rocky, the movie, what we get to see is a boxer who did not have the strength, the size, the stamina, but he fought against opponents who were much larger than him, had a lot more strength than him. So, how did he do that? What does that movie tell us? Now, basically, how strength or strength in sports works is basically how you use it. Not everybody has the same strength. Somebody is going to be stronger, somebody is going to be faster, somebody is going to be, uh, wiser, somebody will have more stamina. So the strength is divided into various subjects, various different topics, out of which particular quality, which particular strength do we need in a horse for the horse to win the horse race? So in this case, the basic that we need to understand is when it comes to physical strength, size matters. So heavier, bigger horses are definitely the ones who are the first preferences. Now, having said that, you know, it's just the start of the chapter 1. There are other avenues. We are just talking about the strength and fitness today. So pay attention, and when you try to work on what we are discussing today, you should have all the points together jotted down in one place before you make a decision. Now, we are talking about strength and we are talking about size, we are talking about weight. So, you're looking at, if the first thing that you need to be looking at, what is the weight of the horse compared to the other horses in the same race. So, the first thing that you're looking at is a heavier horse, but that also depends on the distance. We'll come to that later. But in general, if it is a 1100-meter run, if it is a 1200-meter run, if it is a 1400-meter run, if it is a 1600-meter run, I mean, you can convert that meter into miles and kilometers, however that works in your country. But in my country, it is meters, like 1100-meter or 1400-meter or 1200-meter. In your country, it could be miles, quarter mile, 1 mile. So you're looking at a horse which is of a substantial size, which is heavier than the rest of the horses in that race. That's the first thing that you're looking at. Now, why? Why are we looking at heavier horses? Heavier horses are, heavier horses. Smaller, somebody might say that, smaller horses will have a lot of flexibility. But that is not exactly how races work. To understand this, we need to understand the concept of physics, momentum. Now, if you compare, let's say, uh, if you compare two airplanes, one is a smaller one and the other one is a big 747, or now you have a bigger one which is 380 Airbus. Now, if you have a bigger one and if you have a smaller aircraft and they're both flying the same distance, let's say there's a Uh, they're both flying from uh, New York to London, or they're both flying from Dubai to uh, Sydney. The bigger one is going to take smaller time, much shorter time. The smaller aircraft is going to take longer time than the bigger one, the bigger aircraft. And the reason behind this is simple physics. If you do not have weight, you do not have momentum. So a bigger horse will have a larger momentum, and it will have a greater advantage from the rest of the other horses which are running in the same race to be the first one. So the first thing that we need to look for is the weight of the horse. We need a heavier horse in the same race. If there are 10 horses running, chances are the heaviest will win. Now, that's the first phase. Does it mean that the other horses they do not have a chance? No, it doesn't mean that. The smaller horses, the lighter horses, they have equal chances to win. But the heavier one has just an advantage of the weight because that will help in the momentum. Now, how the smaller horses or the lighter horses have a chance and why it is equal with the heavier horse or the heavier horses, we will discuss that. But there are a lot of other things that we need to discuss before we get to that subject. So, for today, the first thing that we need to understand is when we are choosing a winning horse, we need to choose the heaviest of the lot. And that information, if you look in the race card, is almost hidden. You almost need a magnifying glass to find out that information. At times, it is not even given. It's very difficult to, if you're looking at a race card, if it is very difficult for you to find out what is the actual weight of the horse. So it is important that you do not buy a race card. Instead, do your homework at home before even you go to the race course or wherever the races are happening and do your homework. If you do not do your homework, if you do not know what you're doing, you do not know what you're doing. Thank you for your time today. Please subscribe my channel if you like my work. Have a blessed day. Thank you.